Welcome back to Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Ollie Hayes, and today I'm bringing the player ratings for Nottingham Forest nil, Everton 1. 3 points away from home at the City Ground with a last gasp winner being the difference between the two sides. But we'll get straight into it with today's player ratings, and we'll start with Jordan Pickford in goal, and he gets a 7 for me. A few good saves from Morgan Gibbs-White and Hudson-Odoi at crucial moments of the game, but for me, the biggest thing, he was calm in the big moments. I think the save from Morgan Gibbs-White, especially, Gibbs-White was able to latch onto the end of a cross in the edge of the box, and Pickford just dealt with it really well. Caught the ball and was just really calm on it. So I think Pickford, can take a lot of credit from Saturday's performance because he didn't have a lot to do, but when he was called upon, I think he dealt with things very, very well. So it's a 7 from me. But moving into the back four now, we'll start with our right back, Jake O'Brien, and I'm going to give him a 6. He didn't really have a lot to do. I think he kept Callum Hudson-Odoi relatively quiet. A few times where he got skinned, and Hudson-Odoi was able to get across or a shot off. But I think it was a very solid performance from Jake O'Brien, and we're sort of learning that he has got this consistency in him now. He's got this ability to put in a consistent performance week in, week out. So long may it continue. It's not the most dramatic of performances from Jake O'Brien, but did the simple things well. Didn't have a lot to do, and yeah, a 6 from me. But moving into the two centre halves, I'll start with James Tarkowski, and I'll go with a 6 for him. I don't think he had lots to do either. I said it with Jake O'Brien. I think they had very similar performances, Jake O'Brien and James Tarkowski. Didn't have loads to do, but did the simple things well. So not really loads to say about James Tarkowski. So I'll give him a 6. But moving into his centre back partner, Jared Branthwaite, I'm going to give Jared Branthwaite a 9. I thought he was an absolute monster against Nottingham Forest. He was an absolute monster in the air. He's the only player this season to win 9 out of 9 aerial duels in a game. So that just shows the measure of the man, how good he was. Obviously, Chris Wood wasn't meant to start the game. I think that he was a big injured out going into the game, but the fact that he was starting, it meant that Jared Branthwaite and James Tarkowski had to be on their game, on their guard with aerial duels and winning balls in the air, and Branthwaite certainly did that. That stat of 9 out of 9 aerial duels, 100% aerial duel completion in the game just tells you everything you need to know about how he dealt with Chris Wood, and long may it continue because we absolutely know how good of a player Jared Branthwaite is. So fingers crossed we can keep him beyond the summer and even, further into the future because he's just such a top player. So Jared Branthwaite gets a 9 for me, and he's probably my man of the match. But moving to left back now, Vitaly Mykolenko, he gets a 7 from me. I actually thought it was quite nice to have him back in the side. I think it's quite a good balance having Vitaly Mykolenko at left back. As I said, with James Tarkowski and Jake O'Brien, does the simple things well. Dealt with Jota Silva very, very well, who I thought Jota Silva had a very good game the week before against Aston Villa, obviously getting on the score sheet there. So Mykolenko had his work cut out. He's had his work cut out all season with top quality wingers coming up against him. Dealt really well with Mohamed Salah, dealt well with Bukayo Saka, particularly last season, for example. So yeah, Mikolenko gets the 7. Thought he did the simple things well, and it was quite nice to actually have him back in the side, which is something I definitely wouldn't have been saying 6 months ago. But moving into the midfield three now, we'll start with James Garner, and he gets a 6 from me. He went missing at times. I think he did the quiet things well. He was able to break up the play quite nicely. Maybe should have scored that chance, which fell to him in the box from Jack Harrison. Obviously, it was quite a good save from Matt Sells, so. And obviously, in hindsight, it didn't really matter too much. But James Garner gets a 6 from me. Went missing at times, but I think a solid, decent performance from James Garner. And as I've said, so many times that he's done the simple things well. He's done the things that he was supposed to do quite well. But his partner, Idrissa Gana Gueye, is going to get an 8 from me. I thought he dealt with Forest midfield fantastically. He shut down Morgan Gibbs-White. He shut down Nicholas Dominguez wherever he could, and he was just everywhere, Idrissa Gana Gueye. Even in the last, dying embers of the game, setting the press from that Forest corner in the 93rd minute, which obviously led to our goal from a certain man who I'll get onto in a minute. But just absolutely everywhere all afternoon, here, there, and everywhere, showing great energy, great tenacity, and to set the press late on in that game just shows the measure of the man, just shows how good he is, how much of a Rolls Royce of a midfielder Idrissa Gana Gueye is. Can't talk highly enough of him, so he gets an 8 from me for this one. But as I mentioned earlier, this man is next in the midfield. Abdoulaye Doucouré, he's going to get a 7 from me. It probably would have been a 5 or a 6, but for him scoring that goal, he's just the man on the spot once again, scoring big goals at big times and kept his cool when it mattered. And but for that, he had quite a quiet game. He didn't really create a lot. There was energy there, there was tenacity, and he showed that he is a man that is quite energetic in the midfield. But he gets a seven from me purely for that goal at the end and the absolute bedlam which ensued in the away end straight after that goal, which was absolutely fantastic to be a part of. But yeah, as I said before, Abdoulaye Doucouré, the man on the spot, once again gets a seven from me. Maybe a bit generous. Obviously, if he didn't score that goal, probably would have been a five or six. But just because he got that goal, I think I have to give him a seven for that one. But moving into the front three now, I'll start with Iliman and Jai, and I'm going to give him a six. I think he battled really hard at times and was creating his own chances at times as well. The front three did seem a little bit starved of quality in terms of balls into them, but at times Iliman and Jai getting on the ball, creating his own chances. There was a shot where it was there was no pace on it at all, and it just rolled into Sell's hands, and also a header at the back post, which was unlucky to find the goalkeeper's hands. But it wasn't for the want of trying for Iliman and Jai. I thought he really battled hard. He still just lacks that little bit of match sharpness, I think, which we saw before he got injured in the Merseyside derby. So fingers crossed he can get back to that full fitness soon and show just the amount of quality that he's got. But it's coming, it's getting back. It's just, we just need to see that little bit more sharpness from Iliman and Jai, which is probably why I didn't give him a seven because of his high standards. I'm just going to stick with a six for that one. But moving to the other side of the wing, and Jack Harrison, I'm going to give him a seven. I actually thought he played quite well, which might be quite surprising for some people, but I think he created quite a lot of chances. Obviously, as I mentioned before, the diving header from Iliman and Jai, that came from a Jack Harrison cross. Some other crosses at times. He obviously found James Garner for that big chance in the first half, which Sells got down quite smartly to save. But apart from that, I think he was really tenacious. He was working quite hard. Obviously, we know that he lacks that little bit of quality in the final third, which you do need for the Premier League. But he kept working hard, he kept battling hard, and that's probably why I'll nail him down to a seven because he did create a fair few chances in the game, and as I said before, worked very hard in doing so. But moving to the number nine now, which is Armando Broja, who got his first start under David Moyes. I'm going to give him a six. It was a difficult day for him, really. A bit similar to Iliman Jai, tried to create his own chances at times, but just lacked the support up with him, lacked, any runners off him. And, we know in a team like Everton's leading the line and being Everton's number nine at times is very, very difficult because you're feeding off scraps. Chances are very few and far between. And if you don't score a lot of goals, you're going to be questioned. So it was a difficult day for him. I thought he did well considering the circumstances, being quite isolated up there. But Broja does get a six from me. But fingers crossed that's a little bit of a platform now for him to build on, and whether it be a cameo against Manchester City next weekend or him starting from the start once again. Fingers crossed he can use that little bit of sharpness that his games against Nottingham Forest to sort of use as a platform to build on. But as I said before, Armando Broja gets a six for me. So moving into the substitutions now, we'll start with Beto. I think it was on 64 minutes, that one. And Beto gets a seven from me. Unlucky not to win a penalty. I feel like we look our most dangerous going forward with Beto on the pitch. That might be a completely wild statement and you might wildly disagree, but I do think at times, because us as Evertonians, and I think even Beto himself doesn't know what he's doing with his own legs, I think that can be quite deceiving for opposition defenders. So I think we do look quite dangerous with Beto on the pitch. And listen, we know Beto is not an option for longevity. He's going to come in, do a job, and he scored some quite vital goals this season, especially under David Moyes. But I do feel like we do look a little bit more dangerous with Beto on the pitch. So that's why I've given him a seven. I thought he worked really hard and was unlucky, obviously, not to win that penalty with that tangle with Murillo. But moving a little bit further on to the substitutions, this one came on around 67, 68 minutes, I believe. And it was Carlos Alcaraz. I'm going to give him a seven as well. He injected crucial energy at the crucial time of the game, really. The game was kind of in a little bit of a lull. Wasn't a lot of chances for either side, so he was just really progressive on the ball. Every time he got the ball, he tried to look forward and tried to run forward with the ball, and I think that's something that Everton have lacked for so long in midfield. A direct runner. I'm thinking back to the likes of Damari Gray, for example. I think he was the last kind of direct runner we had, and I see a lot of similarities in Alcaraz's game. When he does get the ball, he looks forward straight away. He very rarely turns back, so I think that's really positive to see. And as I said before, he gets the seven for me just purely because it was a bit of a lull in the game and he injected some energy at a really crucial time, which was ultimately why we were creating chances to go on and win the game. But the last substitution is Dwight McNeil. This was in around the 90th minute. Some say I might be a little bit reactionary to this one, but I'm going to give Dwight McNeil an eight. The man of the hour, of course. He loves the City ground with all his heart playing there. Great pass to find Abdoulaye Doucouré. McNeil only needed 5 minutes to create something in the game. I think it's that little bit of creativity we've missed. And, in other games, for example, I think back to the Merseyside derby where Jack Harrison was running forward with the ball at Anfield, the Anfield Merseyside derby. Jack Harrison was running forward with the ball so many times, and the pass either went to a Liverpool defender or he turned back. I think McNeil's ability to get on the ball, take a few touches and play a ball straight. Listen, there wasn't a lot of quality in the ball. It managed to find its way through to Abdoulaye Doucouré. But I think just that little bit more of a cutting edge and that little bit more creativity was what won us that game on Saturday. And that's why I'm giving Dwight McNeil an 8, because he only needed 5 minutes to make a difference. And as I said before, he absolutely loves playing at the City Ground against Nottingham Forest and making a difference. But that is all for my player ratings today. For Nottingham Forest nil, Everton 1. I'm not going to get bored of saying that one. Let me know your thoughts in the comments about how he played. Do you agree with some of the ratings? Do you disagree with some of the ratings? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. That is all from me today. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.